was aware of Confucius Institutes. I was aware of how many Chinese nationals come to our STEM programs, even at the grad level, for education, to steal essentially intellectual property, to take it back to the Chinese. What I was not aware was the story that you told about Yale, that they had essentially accepted tens of millions of dollars in donor grants from Chinese Communist Party linked entities to fund their very school. That's pretty shocking. And they're not a state-run university.
That's right. Now, you are required, if you're any higher education university or college in the United States, you're required to disclose foreign donations based on the 1965 law involving education. The problem is institutions like Yale and others are not doing it. If you look at Yale right now, they disclose where their foreign donations come from by country. And if you were to look at that list right now, Liz, they would say with a straight face that the foreign source of money that sends them more than anybody is the island of Guernsey, which is a tax authority off the British coast. The reason they say that is that most of their money is coming from Chinese-linked companies and individuals, but rather than funneling out of China itself, they're simply setting up these, these pass-through accounts, as it were, in these tax havens. And Yale knows this, and they are purposely not accurately reporting it. So one of the reforms would be to require them and to enforce the law that says you need to expose and explain who is giving you the donations, where they're coming from, and not hiding it in such a manner. That would be a beginning reform. But the other thing, honestly, Liz, is I'm a big believer in the old concept of shame. I think the reason a lot of this stuff is happening in the quiet corners, Bill Gates is not out going on American national television talking about how great China is. He goes on Chinese state television or in the Chinese media and says those things because he doesn't want his fellow Americans to know that he's doing it. So I think they need to be exposed and shamed, and people should go to shareholder meetings and they should ask Google or Alphabet or Microsoft why they're involved in efforts to subsidize the Chinese military. They do not have good explanations for this. They will be embarrassed, and I think shame will go a long way to at least starting to move things in the right direction.
Right, because every political thing is both cultural and legal, right? You can do something legally, but if the culture is not on board, then the vast majority of people might not even know about it. You did use the word enforce, though. When you talk about Yale not reporting things properly, are they technically, again, in violation of an existing law here? Not just a case study in why we should create a new type of legislation to deal with their corruption, but are they in violation of an existing law?
Yes, we do know for a fact that Yale did not report hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign donations, largely from Chinese entities. They didn't even disclose those. They didn't even list those. There's an example of something that happened in the Trump administration I think was helpful. The Department of Education went after Yale and other schools and said, we are going to audit your books and see where your donations came from. It was only after that they started disclosing it again. They are masking it, as I said. I think they are violating the law by doing so because the entire intent of the law is to let people know and let the federal government know what foreign entities are trying to influence the education system in the United States. And we know that China has a policy of trying to do so. So we need to have that information out in the open so students, alumni, and parents know what forces are at work on these college campuses.